Okay, so a very warm welcome to the course of Appium. I'm Pavan Onkar on behalf of IT Learn, who will be driving this course. Uh, you know, so accordingly, so I want to introduce first about myself. So I'm having around 9.5 years of experience into test automation and like. I have around 7.5 years experience into test automation and uh, like with the core experience into Selenium from around 6.5 years, and 1 year in RFT. So that is robot framework. Uh, the rational functional testing and uh, so like with APM, I have worked around 4.5 years since it has evolved. So, like I have worked on around 4 to 5 projects where I have automated the test applications on Android as well as iOS. So, to start with this experience, like I want to introduce a couple of points when I'm walking through this particular slide. Okay, so quickly, if I want to tell about the Appium, so Appium is nothing but it's um, a open source platform first of all. Okay, and it being very a lot of people are hearing about Appium, and most of the members are here to understand why I should choose Appium, because there are many more tools available in the in the market, right? So that being the case, so first slide that I want to just quickly walk you through is I don't want to go immediately into the technical details. So just this is a trend analysis about how the market is about for the Appium and other test automation tools. So if you see Appium, Selendroid, and Robotium, these three tools being very they are having a hands-on over the market, but Appium has uh, taken up the market since couple of years. Okay, so if you see this, okay, so since couple of years, Appium has taken up the market, and the reason for it is because it not only supports to test the Android platforms, but it also supports to test the applications on iOS as well as the Firefox OS. Okay, so if you see this currently, the job postings, this trend has increased for Appium, and as in how we have moved further since couple of years, the Selendroid and Robotium, which were the known tools at that time, they have actually fallen down, and Appium has caught the market since then. Now, this is the interest of most of the companies, which you see, which has evolved across a couple of years now, and like if you see, there's Robotium and Selendroid are no more the preferred automation tools, going further as per the market analysis, right? Now, this confirms us that at least in the market, Appium is very hot, and also like it's being a user friendly way to work with the different languages. It makes easy for each one of the newbies, or I would say a new member who is not even experienced in Selenium, but even those members can catch what this Appium tool is about and how to work with the mobile apps, right? So now coming to the more technical details now. So if now we know that Appium is hot in market and we saw a couple of trends, right? Now let us come to some of the evaluating factors which actually help us to confirm which tool we should go about and what should be the points that we should be noting about them. right? So quickly, if I drive, there are a couple of points which I've noted here in this slide. If you see, so the supported platform, what is this? Appium, Selendroid, and Robotium. These are the three open source tools. Okay, and Robotium and Selendroid were far old um, tools, I would say. Okay, so when they started developing the framework, at that time iOS was not in their scope of work, so they only supported testing the mobile apps on these platforms. And later, as in how Appium started evolving, it actually started not only supporting the Android platforms but iOS as well as Firefox OS. So on this criteria, Appium wins. It actually wins the deal over other frameworks uh, that were old in the market. Later comes the version support. So Appium supports the Android 4.2 and higher versions of the platform. And Selendroid and Robotium, though they support the multiple versions of Android, uh, but they can't support iOS. So again, on the version support, Appium wins the deal here, right? So next, what is the point is source code dependency of AUT. AUT is nothing but application under test. So whether it can be a hybrid app or a web app or any other app, but the dependency of uh, the application source code, the source code which the developers write, right, for the application. So the dependency of the same is there when you are actually using Robotium. Okay, and the same is not with Selendroid and also with Appium. So in case of Selendroid, you need a APK. If you see the next point, APK is nothing but an installer file of the app. Okay, it's like a MSI file how we use on Windows. So APK is nothing but a installer file. This is for the Android platform is what I'm saying here. Okay, so now we should not have such dependencies that we should have an installer file for a particular app, right? When we are actually always going to test the applications, then in that case, Robotium, first of all, it needs the source code. That's why it doesn't need APK. But here, in case of Selendroid, if you see, it needs a APK, right? But Appium again doesn't need both of these files. Neither it depends on the source code and neither it depends on the APK. So here on both of these points, again the Appium is superior, right? And next is the cross platforms. So if you now this is very important to understand that you are comfortable writing a code since your career you were working on Java, or maybe you're working in PHP or Ruby, right? But if you would have evaluated Selendroid or Robotium by any chance in your project, then if you were working on any non-Java platform, then you would have definitely a dependency to write a code in Java. Okay, when you were actually going to work with Selendroid and Robotium. So when Appium started evolving, they started bringing up the language bindings for different programming languages. I am sure a couple of you might have explored Selenium. So as Selenium has availed us with the multiple language bindings, so similarly Appium also has given us the multiple language bindings. So if you are comfortable working on Python or C Sharp or many other languages that I've listed here, then definitely you would be comfortable to work with Appium. Okay. So now, so team, this is a agenda which I have listed out. Okay, and uh, like this, the course content will be something that will drive based on what I have listed out here. Okay, and quickly. Like first we will see in couple of sessions the introduction to mobile automation, okay, how critical it is in the market. Next is, once we have evaluated that Appium is the tool that I have evaluated correctly, then we will start understanding its architecture, right? And then we will see couple of installation and configurations. Okay, so so I will start my sessions first with the Android, okay, on the Android platform, and then uh, after the first half of the course, I will start with the iOS part, right? So if you see here, I have list down. Uh, I hope everyone have gone through this page. Okay, so this is the training content, right? So initially, first I will cover in couple of sessions the architecture and then setup diagrams, right? How to set up the machines on the Windows platform. Uh, so when I'm actually going to drive the initial part of the course on Android, it will be the Windows OS which I will be working on to set up the Android part. However, the Android part also can be set up on Mac OS, but you all being new to this, this platform, I'm recommending to explore the Android part first on Windows. Okay. Um, However, I won't be covering any configuration steps to configure the Appium for Android on macOS. Okay, I will be during this course. I will be covering only the Android with Appium on Windows. Okay, so after we so this is the course content that I have listed out. Okay, so there are a couple of setup steps that we need to, or prerequisite softwares that we need to install. Okay, and once we are done with this, then uh, we will see couple of topics here. Okay, so how to actually write basic test scripts. And yes, uh, to highlight one of the very important point is, I will be using a Python binding. Okay, so throughout our course, so it's not the case that you should have a core understanding of Python. Okay, there is there is a minimum dependency of any programming language to be understood while we are taking up this course. My focus throughout the course would be to show you the different capabilities of Appium. Okay, I'm not focused about if a programming language, whichever you are comfortable with, whether it will support or not, whatever things I'm going to show, right? So coming to the uh, so yes, Python being a language, so I it's just a programming language that I want to work with the Appium, so I will be using it. Okay, and then yes, so this being the thing, let me come to this slide again. So yes, after the infrastructure setup, I will show you how to work with actually the apps on the devices, right? So element locating mechanisms. What are these? These are nothing but how to identify the UI elements on the app, whether it is on the Android or whether it is on iOS. So there are different techniques to work with these both platforms, right? And there are multiple challenges, so I will give you some tips and tricks when so that you can actually uh, you know you can actually cross the hurdle which most of the newbies actually face while working with these platforms. So through this particular agenda, you will get a jump start to to understand the concepts as early as possible, rather than you figuring out and uh, doing the Google over each and every concept, right? So the concepts which I'm going to cover on the Android part as well as on iOS part, they will be the latest part. Okay, and you'd most of the interviews, these are the concepts which a newbie is expected to understand. right? When I say a newbie, it is you guys who are a newbie to the Appium, right? When you have to tell something in the interview about Appium, then you will actually be asked on those points which I am going to explain you throughout the course. Okay, so this being the case, now so quickly I will talk on the first point today. Okay, and in the next session I will cover on the uh, you know on the so in today's session itself I will cover a small architecture on the Android platform for Appium. Okay, and then in the next sessions we will see how actually to set up the things on Appium. But before I start, I want to show that how Appium actually works, and it actually automates the test automation test automation scripts. Okay, so this is a basic. So these are a couple of scripts which I have maintained for iOS as well as um, for the Android portion, right? So now uh, so using Python we will be writing these kind of basic scripts. Okay, and whether it is on Android or whether it is on iOS, you should not be worried whether I have to learn Python for this. It's not the case. However, Python being very easy to catch, but in my course, I won't be covering the basics of Python, but only those concepts which are critical across the different languages to understand Appium is something I will cover in this course. Okay. So, I have written couple of scripts, and I can show you quickly a simple. Uh, so this is on the. Um, so maybe I can start this. Now this is on Mac OS. I've set up Android, but uh, I have set up things on the what I mean to say the Windows platform. So I can quickly play that part first, right? So if I show you this, so guys, this is the video that I have recorded to show how I have configured things on Windows for Android. Okay, right now I have started my meeting for this on the Mac OS, so I cannot switch back to my Windows OS in between. So that is the reason I have recorded this part, so you can just see how things I have done. So if you see here, on the left side, this is the Appium server that is running, and on the right side is a simulator using the Genymotion software. Okay, Genymotion is a software which gives a free version to host some of the simulators. So Genymotion is nothing but a software to host virtual devices on any platform, whether it is whether it is Ubuntu Linux, or whether it is Mac OS, or whether it is Windows, right? In that case, this becomes a very user-friendly way to host any virtual device on our machines, right? So if you see here, if I move further, on the left side you see a couple of Appium's services are running, and this is the basic script that I have written in Python language. And if you see, just 5 to 10 lines of code which I have written, they are actually helping me to launch the application. So which application? So in this example, if you see, I'm actually going to launch the email app. Okay, so if you see, this is a Python language that I've used. Okay, and so so this is the Appium app, UI app that actually looks up. This is a new desktop app that has come up. So I'm not going to show you any uh, old instances of Appium. It's the latest thing that has come up in the market, and how it has made life easy than the older versions is something I will also be showing you. So these are some of the capabilities so with which application is actually launched on the device. So if you see on the right side, first I'm checking whether Appium is able to first launch that application without my scripts. So if you see, the application has launched that, and on the left side you will immediately get all the UI elements with respect to whatever elements you're seeing. So if you see here, if you see on the left side, this is the app that got launched, right? And Appium inspector. Now what is it? If you see here, the window has launched. This is nothing but an inspector window. Okay. And on the right side you see the complete source UI source page of the application. So with how to how to deal with this is something we will understand as in how we move in the course, right? So it's just a just the capability of Android with Appium is something I'm showing you. So once we are done with this, uh, so if you see here on the right side, the for every element there are a couple of identifiers, okay, based on which we will actually locate the elements. This is how we will see them. Okay, so locating the elements through inspector is a challenge, and that is the challenge that I will be helping you to understand. Okay, so this is one of the thing that I wanted to cover in the course. Next, on the same platform, if you see, I will just run this script and show you like how it will actually work with Appium. And yes, if I was mentioning about Genymotion, so this is a free software where you have to register. This is not an open source, first of all, team. This is a free software which exposes only couple of features in their free versions. So, and why do I need to use this? Even Android SDKs, which we are going to use, they have their own virtual devices. But somehow I have experienced that their performance is very slow. And that is the reason we, in most of our projects, are using Genymotion. And I believe, the features that are available in the free version of this particular software, they are, they suffice enough for the application testing that we keep the scope for. Okay, so not much we are going out of any other features that Genymotion actually is not offering. So quickly, if I move further, so if you see, I'm running the script, and I'm running the script from Eclipse. Okay, this script can be run from command line as well. Okay, so all you see is I've just provided what all details to run this particular script with. So if you see the first line here, I've mentioned which platform version I have to deal with, and Android is the platform name. So device name is this one that has been like this is the device ID. Okay, and these are the details about the app that I want to launch. So all these details I'm sending to a WebDriver. I hope most of you have worked with the Selenium WebDriver, right? So in that case, you have to deal with the browsers only. However, in case of Appium, you have to deal with the native apps that are actually going to launch on your devices. Okay, so I won't be digging much into the technical details again. So it's just on, you want to get a look and feel about how uh, things are going to work with Appium is something we will see, right? So with the Python run, I have started this server, and you will see the server logs coming up, and accordingly the app should get launched on this device. So see, this app got launched, and later how to work with it is something we will try to understand. Okay, so this is all on the Android platform that I wanted to show. So I will close this for now. Okay, and there is another. Uh, so I have the Eclipse. And so this is about the Android with Appium. Okay, and the same agenda we will see for iOS as well. Okay, how to set up the things on iOS. So now there are challenges. Okay, so there are challenges when we deal with iOS. So a lot of Mac OS being very sophisticated OS. We have to be very concerned about the securities and certificates, all different criterias that it actually works with. It is not an open source platform, and neither the iOS gives us any, uh, you know, it doesn't give us much liberty to do anything that we want to do as how we can do on the Android platforms, right? So yes, so that being the case, if you see here, I have recorded one of the uh, actions on iOS. So this is how we will be seeing. So just a second. Let me mute here. Mute me here. Yeah. So if you see, team, this is the Xcode that you're seeing. Okay. I don't want to go much into details. If you see, this is the simulator of iOS device. Okay, and I am not only going to show you the you know in this course, I'm not only going to show working with iOS 9.3 versions, but also on 10 plus versions of iOS. Now, as and how iOS 10 plus versions started coming up in the market, there started coming different challenges to work with this setup. So, what are those challenges is something we will see across as and how we move further in the course while setting up things for both 9.3 version of iOS as well as 10 plus versions of iOS. Okay, so this is how the server will look like for Appium. Okay, on the iOS. Okay, and if you see, this is how we do the settings for iOS, and what are the different. This is, if you see, if I maximize this video here, if you see, I have provided all the details about the simulator to this Appium. Okay, and I'm working on actually 9.3 version, right? So if you see, when I've actually configured Appium to work with the app, so this is the a sample UI app, okay, which I will be helping you to set up and configure. Okay, most of the UI that we see on our different and iOS apps are mostly dealing with these kind of you know user interface buttons, date pickers, right? So this is a open source and a freely available app in the in the market. So that's the reason I have preferred to use this to drive this course, because it is not a easy way to install any app that is owned by someone to install on iOS. Okay, so this will this app which you see on the screen, it will actually cover most of the UI actions that you might face in your projects. Okay, so that is one thing. And if you see on the left side, the inspector which we saw for the Android part is something similar for the iOS as well. Okay, uh, however, the UI structure, I mean to say the source code structure for the iOS apps are quite different than Android, and we need to understand. See here on the left side, as and how the app started coming up, the on the left side, the actually elements are getting listed out. So if you see, these are the different options with which I will be dealing with, and there are a couple of progress bars and all those things, how to set the progress bars with Appium. So these are a couple of UI actions that each one of us are looking after to perform, right? Uh, and how to uh, so if you see in this video, the Appium inspector, how to actually inspect the UI elements, and these are the details that actually come up, and how to utilize them in our scripts. So basically, inspector is nothing but it's a way to find the elements in the UI, and actually find their locators, and using different locators of Appium, we can actually locate these elements and perform different actions. So this is, if you guys have worked with Selenium Firebug, sorry, if you have worked with Firebug or Chrome Inspector, so you can say this is a Chrome Inspector for mobile devices on iOS. Okay, so it's as good as that way you can relate these things. Okay, next, if I move further, if you see, this is the setting I have set up, and I have written a couple of scripts here on the iOS. So if you see, there is a quite similarity between the scripts that I have written in Android as well as iOS. It's only the settings as part of these desired capabilities that have changed. Okay, rest of the format of the code and even the methods that I've used, they are all same. Now, the question is, I have been showing everyone the things on Python. Now, if you work on Java, the commands will just change, but the logic remains the same. Here, in this way, I have defined the desired capabilities. So this is the mandatory part which you should understand, and that is what we will understand going further in the course. So how to set up things on uh, on the respective language that you want to work will be only the thing that you have to deal with. Apart from that, the concepts of how to set what are these capabilities is something remains same irrespective of whichever programming language you choose according to your comfort. Okay, but understanding the architecture of Appium and how it actually works with uh, Android devices, what are the different instructions that go to the device, is something we should understand, right? So if you see this, if I quickly play this again, and once I run this, so if you see this, I have ran this script, and it will actually launch the app, the UI catalog app. See here, and it will perform different actions accordingly, whatever needed. So whichever actions I've mentioned in my scripts, accordingly it will do those actions. So here, okay, I guess quickly moved further. So once it launches, I have shown one of the actions where, you know, I have captured the total number of rows in this example. So these are a couple of scripts which we will be walking through, like how to deal with progress views. On the left side of the video, if you see, there are scripts which I have written. So how to deal with each type of UI is something we will see, and different touch actions which are also critical for every mobile app to be dealt with is something we will see in this course, right? And so, like, okay, one of the slides which I wanted to show was, if you see, now why, okay, now we have seen Appium like different things on iOS as well as Android. Now, just to quickly roll you back over the introduction. So if you see, there are so many apps that are coming up in the market, right? And if you see, for every app there is a website associated with it. But if any company decides these days to start their business, they will actually first decide about coming up with a mobile app. Very important to understand. Now, if a company is coming up with mobile app, then definitely they need the developers, and also they need the testers. So just being a manual test engineer doesn't help you in a team. Okay, so in that case, if you see, this is the app store, right? You should not be only proficient about testing the apps on the Android platforms, but you should be proficient on working with the iOS as well as on the Mac platforms, right? So in that case, you become a competitive person across different people, or I would say different members in your team, or I would say you become a competitive member across different interview candidates that come for the interview for the position of automation. Don't be in a impression that if the requirement is for Selenium, they won't require the test automation for mobile apps. Definitely, if they are having a scope of testing the uh, websites or the automating the websites, then definitely in future they will be having the scope of automating the test on the mobile applications. So considering this, this becomes very critical to understand that Appium goes hand in hand along with Selenium as a job requirement in your career going further, right? So that being the case, so this is the Appium's official website. Okay, this is maintained by the team, and this being an open source application, you can actually see the latest things coming up here on their website. So we will see in going further in the course how to what all information we should be taking up from the websites as part of the learning. Okay, so now so this all things I wanted to cover today, and in the next session we will cover the architecture of Appium for Android, architecture of Appium for iOS. Okay, so and then we will see couple of prerequisites, hardware and software requirements, how to set up things. Okay, and then what is this actually the infrastructure diagram, which most of us are dreaming about to set up in either in your current projects, or maybe at least for from the learning perspective, if anyone has joined this course, then actually they can get a jump start to understand how things can be set up so that you can answer them in the interviews, right? So so any questions, team? So right now I'm done with about, you know, at least for the content which I wanted to show for today. So may I know, like, if there are any queries, please unmute yourself, or you can raise your hand and ask the questions. So I can read your questions as well. So if you have any questions, then we can quickly answer. So we have around 15 to 20 minutes. So if you have any questions, I can take up right away, or I can answer you offline as well. So team, I'm open for the questions. So you can unmute yourself and ask as well if you are not comfortable for typing anything. So, okay, so there are questions coming up. First of all, Hitesh is saying, how can I ask question? So what you are typing here is the way that you can ask the question. I can read it out. So Sanjay Patel is asking, is there any prerequisite to learn mobile testing? As of now, in this course, the only prerequisite is that you should have a Windows machine to work with, or a Mac OS will be well and good if you have a Mac OS. Okay. Uh, However, the steps won't be so much difficult to work with setting up the things on Mac OS for Android, but but yes, at least this is the prerequisite. You don't need to have any programming background for this to understand. If you have a programming background, well and good, but definitely I won't emphasize or expect the members to have a very good understanding about any programming language. It's about core Appium concepts, Appium and its framework that I will be driving throughout my course. So there is a question, are we going to drive with working with Appium with Java or Appium with Python? So my analysis over Appium has been saying that the Python bindings that are coming in the market, they are very robust and they are quite reliable frameworks when we work with Python bindings of Appium. However, in case of Java also, it is getting reliable these days, but I haven't worked uh, in a couple of since couple of years. I haven't worked on Java bindings, but I do hear from my friends that Appium is catching up with Java also in a good fashion. So next question is, will there be so there is a question from Anjuman, will there be any framework with project? Yes. So yes, now after this course content, once we are done with this course on iOS as well as Android, we will see a sample project where I will be asking you to work with the learning that we have done throughout the course. I will be giving you some assignments, and in a project fashion, I'm expecting you to work on it. So only on Monday and Wednesday, your time, we are going to meet at that time and try to understand about the projects. Okay. So there is a question: is it a freeware? Yes, it is. It is a freeware. I mean to say, this is an open source tool. Okay, so it's not a software. I can say it's a framework, right? So yes, it is free. Appium is free first of all, and there is no enterprise version of it. So where do I get these slides? Yeah, we can actually. So it's Karthik who can comment on this. So where do I get these slides for the sessions, right? So Karthik, are you there? I have this question. Okay, so it looks like he's not around, but I think this be so we can share these slides. That's not a big deal for us, but once you are a paid member, then we can give you access for all of these materials that I'm showing you. Okay, till the sessions we are actually having the demo sessions. Uh, we are not. We are not given the access to share these things with the members, right? So there is a question, will there be any study material? So it will be only the setup instructions document that I will be sharing. And most of the time you will be seeing the recordings available 24/7 for you. So in that case, like not lots of document, you might have to refer for that case. So documents we won't be.
Pawan, Karthik, did you have a question for me?
Yeah, so there was a question.
You wanted?
Yeah, sorry. So there was a question coming up from one of our members saying, can you share us this slide? So I mentioned that once you become a paid member, then we have the privilege to share any material that we are showing up right now. It's the only recording that.
Yeah, that's the idea. Again, it's basically it's part of the entire course content. Whatever we create will be shared. with all the participants.
Exactly. So whatever you see on during the course, whatever softwares I am displaying, and whatever tips and tricks that I am showing in any document, everything will be shared, so that so it's a very clear it's a very transparent way of training that we will be doing. Okay. So again, there are quite similar questions, whether it is a freeware or a license. I have answered this. So there was a question, how was the app launched? So yes, it was just a demo video that I have created, because I was working on the Windows platform. So I just recorded from that OS and I've played it here. But once we will start our sessions, then I will show you how to actually deal with the Appium and make it understand that you want to launch that app on the device, right? So in a single day, I cannot explain the whole process, how to launch the app. There are a couple of tips and techniques to which I will be walking you through as and how we move further in the course. So Genymotion software will be specific to mobiles like Samsung or something. Yes. So Genymotion is a software that will host only Android platform devices, virtual devices. It won't host iOS simulators. Genymotion is meant for hosting only Android platform devices. Okay. So I've shown you a couple of. So there are questions that what are the prerequisites. So yes, today's session was all about first introduction to Appium and why to choose Appium when there are still other tools in the market. So all those things were there. And in the next session, we are going to understand these prerequisites, right? So as you see in the slides, I have all these things. So these are all prerequisites that we'll be covering in the next session. So Anita, I didn't understand from your question, how much is the course? Is it the duration that you're asking? If that is the question, then yes, this is. So it will, so the training hours will be mostly 13. Okay. And so 13 hours will be in total. And for projects, we'll be investing around 8 hours. So 1 hour, uh, eh, 1 hour on Monday, your time, and Wednesday, your time, we will be investing. So let me come back to a few questions again. I am new to Python. Is it going to be more challenging? No, it won't be. First of all, uh, it's a very simple installation instructions for Python, and that is something I will be showing you. And maybe I will cover a couple of simple scripts before I start with Python programming. That will at least make you comfortable before you start writing scripts in Appium. So there is a question, is mat testing done along with AngularJS? Maybe I will take up this question, and I'm not sure. So Karthik, I'm not sure what do Aarti mean here. Is the mat testing done along with AngularJS?
What's Mac testing with AngularJS? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand what is Mac testing, number one. And I don't know
Mat
why
testing
we
in
are.
the sense she might be asking whether uh, like, is this course aligned with
Oh, MAT
AngularJS?
testing. Oh, I thought Mac testing. Sorry. MAT is mobile app testing
Yeah.
done along with AngularJS. AngularJS, how's that got to do with mobile app testing? I'm not sure, Pavan. Are you? Because, see, once we talk about mobile apps, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Xcode and the other languages through which we build Android apps and iOS apps. I don't know if this AngularJS that is used to build any of these mobile apps.
No, yeah.
And I could be
So
wrong.
yeah, I understand. So just to answer Arti, that AngularJS, of course, this is a framework which is used to build the web applications. So this has nothing to do with learning of mobile app testing as well as along with Appium. I hope this answers your query. So we are not going to cover anything about AngularJS. Just in case you are seeing the title of this meeting as mobile app testing and AngularJS, so AngularJS is some other course which is using the same meeting ID. Okay, so there should not be any confusion about meeting ID title. Okay, will we be knowing any Appium framework structure in next session? Yes. So that is the ultimate goal, that not everything can be explained in a single session. So next session we will understand the architecture of Appium. See there? So how actually Appium works. Sorry. So how actually I will take this question slide here. Okay, and this is the architecture that we'll be covering in the next session, right? And how is Appium going to deal with Android devices, and how is it going to deal with iOS devices is something we will try to understand. And then we will jump on the prerequisite softwares for setting up the scene. Okay, and quickly let me drive other questions. Let me see. After the training, will there be a live project? Yes, there will be a live project. Will there be any different project structures for Android and iOS? No, there won't be any different project structures for Android and iOS. The code which we will be writing for Android will remain the same for iOS, except for a couple of settings that you need to mention in the scripts. Will you be covering session on actual devices? Yes. So definitely, if you see here, the scope is not only to work with the virtual devices, but also the scope is to understand how to set up things for the real devices. So now when we are working with the iOS platforms, we have a dependency that we should have a Mac platform. Okay, and also there is a dependency that we need to have a iOS real device, right? So I will be showing you on iOS 9.3 version of real device, because I have iPhone device which is 9.3 version of iOS on it. However, I can show you the simulators which are actually having 10.3 version. So how they are going to deal with is something we will see going further. And yes, the same is the case on Android platforms. So real devices for Android is also the setup part which I will be covering. However, the settings remain the same. Just couple of steps that are different. Those tips and tricks I will be covering as part of this. So guys, there are a lot of questions. Quickly, I will go through them. We have 5 minutes. So is the training job oriented? I'm into the latest content. Yes, if you see, uh, most of the Appium concepts are part of this course. Okay, and if you see the course item, sorry, if you try to see here this course content, okay, so all these are, so over the decades or over the years, these concepts have not changed. However, just couple of techniques, they keep on evolving and they keep on changing. However, Appium doesn't change its framework so often. So those are the latest concepts which I'm currently using in my projects. Those are something I'm actually integrating in the course content, so everyone is updated about the latest things. And I'm not, so if I would have been an expert of and mobile app automation tester for Selendroid or Robotium, then I would have said Appium is not a good tool. But I would have said just, Selendroid is a awesome tool in the market, so we should learn that only. But it doesn't support iOS, so that doesn't make sense that I should be explaining you the mobile app testing just for the Android platform. So everyone is eager to understand there is a iOS that is very hot in market. So we should also understand how to deal with those OS. So training and job. So this training is job oriented, yes, and I will be giving you some tips and techniques how to deal with the interviews for whatever concepts we are learning throughout the course. Okay. So there were the questions that like I'm so it was fine. Okay. So as shown in the today's session, should we set up server simulator editor for iOS separately? I will be driving you through the course. So what I will be showing you is the steps how to do the things on uh, different platforms, whether it is on Android with Windows. So I'll be actually taking up a session to set up things step by step. And it is not that the same I'm expecting you to do during the live training, but it is something that you should be doing after the course. You should take that recording as a reference and try to set up things on your machines offline. So someone is saying, I have a knowledge in Java. Is it easy to learn Python for me? I'm again saying, first of all, you have a knowledge of Java, well and good. You don't need to be a Python expert to take up this course. I'm again repeating, it's just the concepts of Appium that will, that is something I'm emphasized on throughout the course. Okay. So I see a lot of questions. Maybe these questions I will answer you on the email. So Karthik, how do you want to take there are a couple of 15-20 queries that I'm seeing. I cannot answer all of them in
Yeah,
this.
sure. So what we will do, team, and this is an orientation session. The main intent is to give you a rough agenda, an idea of what will be included in this training program. Now, what we will do is we'll consolidate all the FAQs that are asked, put a good answer to them, and have the sales team email it to you within the next 2 days. And when you join day one, we can go over them once again to give you an idea. And
Right.
what Pavan tried to show you today is primarily the overall concept of why Appium is a good technology or tool to learn for mobile app test automation, and how we are putting the course together for you. And as you go through each day's session, all of these things will become more and more clear for us. I do understand when you begin with something, there'll be a lot of questions. But again, that's the reason this whole training is there, where all these questions will get addressed through the technical team, through the forum, and through the trainer. All right, Pavan?
Yeah, that's
All
that's
right, team?
okay. So so team,
So
in the
let's
next
meet
session.
up on day one. Yeah, and then we'll go through this. By the time we'll have the sales team prepare FAQ and send it for everyone's reading.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Okay, thank you, team, and see you in the next session. And so, very important is the architecture of Appium. Everyone need to understand, and that is the interesting part, which I see the queries are mostly revolving around. So we will see those queries getting answered in the next session. Okay, see you, team, next time. So this will be on day after tomorrow, same time we will meeting. Okay, so thank you, team, and good evening. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now. Thanks, Pavan.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.